Hi everyone! In this video we will be looking at the Egyptian goddess Isis, actually called Aset or Eset in Egyptian, while Isis, or Isis as we say today in English, is the Greek form of her name. Let's dig in. Isis was initially an obscure goddess who lacked her own dedicated temples, but she grew in importance as the dynastic age progressed, until she became one of the most important deities of ancient Egypt. Her cult subsequently spread throughout the Roman Empire, and she was worshipped from England all the way to Afghanistan. As mourner, she was a principal deity in rites connected with the dead. As magical healer, she cured the sick and brought the deceased to life. And as mother, she was a role model for all women. Isis had strong links with Egyptian kingship, and she was most often represented as a woman wearing a sheath dress and the hieroglyphic sign of the throne on her head, as her name translates to Queen of the Throne or to She of the Throne. Sometimes she was also depicted with the vulture headdress of the goddess Mut, and other times with a disc with horns on the sides, attributed to the goddess Hathor. Isis can also be seen as a winged goddess wearing royal robes, who brought fresh air to the underworld when she went to meet her husband Osiris. Occasionally, she was represented as a scorpion, a bird, a sow, or a cow. As a significant deity in Egyptian mythology, Isis's symbol stretched far and wide due to her connection with many things at once. Kites and falcons were considered her symbols because they formed part of her journey to revive Osiris, and she transformed into a kite to travel fast and complete her quests. Kites also symbolized protection and freedom, both of which were attributes of Isis. Heifers were used to emphasize her motherly nature, and when connected with Apis, the god of fertility, cows illustrated as her willpower was also quite common. Due to the vitalizing effects of trees and their importance in nature, Isis and her characteristics were also symbolized through them. An important symbol of Isis was the tet. Similar in appearance to the ankh, the tet came to be her hallmark, especially when it came to funerary rites. There are no references to Isis before the 5th dynasty, approximately 2465 to 2325 BCE, but she is mentioned many times in the pyramid texts around 2350 to around 2100 BCE, in which she helps the dead king. Later, as ideas of the afterlife became more democratic, Isis was able to extend the help to all dead Egyptians. The priests of Heliopolis, followers of the sun god Ra, developed the myth of Isis. They considered Isis the daughter of the earth god Geb and the sky goddess Nut, and the sister of the deities Osiris, Set, and Nephthys, who all belonged to the Ennead of Heliopolis, the first 9 descendants of the creator god Ra. Married to Osiris, king of Egypt, Isis was a queen who supported her husband and taught the women of Egypt how to weave, bake, and brew beer. Interestingly, the myth that most probably associate with Isis was written by the Greek Plutarch in the late 1st or early 2nd century CE. He is the one who penned the story of the jealous Set who tricked Osiris into climbing into a beautiful chest made to his exact measurements. Once inside, Set sealed the chest and threw it into the Nile, where it drifted into the Mediterranean and eventually came ashore in Lebanon. Isis recovered the chest, now Osiris's coffin, and took it back to Egypt. One night, while Isis was away, Set opened the coffin and tore Osiris's body into 14 pieces, scattering them across Egypt. Isis buried each piece where she found it, but never found Osiris's penis, which had been eaten by a fish. And so Plutarch explained why Egyptian priests didn't eat fish. In a variation of the myth, instead of burying Osiris's body parts, she reunited them and bound them with bandages. Using her magical powers, she was able to make Osiris whole again, but he was neither living nor dead, and had become a mummy. 9 months later, Isis bore Osiris a son, Horus. Osiris was then forced to retreat to the underworld, where he became king of the dead. Isis hid from Set with Horus in the marshes of the Nile Delta until her son was fully grown and could avenge his father and claim his throne. She defended the child against attacks from snakes and scorpions. But because Isis was also Set's sister, she wavered during the eventual battle between Horus and Set. In one tale, Isis took pity on Set and was in consequence beheaded by Horus. But this was reversed using magic. Eventually, she and Horus were reconciled, and Horus was able to take the throne of Egypt. Isis was the perfect traditional Egyptian wife and mother, content to stay in the background while things went well, but able to use her wits to guard her husband and son should the need arise. The shelter she afforded her child gave her the character of a goddess of protection, but her chief aspect was that of a great magician, whose power transcended that of all other deities. Several myths tell of her magical prowess, far stronger than the powers of Osiris and Ra. She was frequently invoked on behalf of the sick, and, with the goddesses Nephthys, Neith, and Salket, she protected the dead. Isis became associated with various other goddesses, including Bastet, Nut, and Hathor, and thus her nature and her powers became increasingly diverse. Isis became known, like other fierce goddesses in the Egyptian pantheon, as the Eye of Ra, and was equated with the dog star, Sothis, aka Sirius. So even though Isis began as a secondary figure to her husband Osiris, she transformed into the queen of the universe and the embodiment of cosmic order. Isis was in charge of the fabric of reality itself, hand in hand with her son Horus. This is highlighted in a text in her temple at Dendera, where it is mentioned that she resides everywhere at once with her son, giving rise to her celestial omnipotence. By the Roman period, she was believed to control the power of fate itself. Isis did not originally have temples dedicated solely to her, but instead, people worshipped her along with other gods such as Osiris or Horus. During the reign of Pharaoh Nectanebo I of 380 to 362 BCE, the cult of Isis grew popular. The first major temple dedicated to her was built by Nectanebo II, who lived from 360 to 343 BCE, and was located at Bechbeit el-Hagar in the central Nile Delta. Other important temples, including the island temple of Philae, were built during Greco-Roman times. Several temples were dedicated to her in Alexandria, where she became the patron of seafarers. From Alexandria, her cult spread to Greece and Rome, and eventually she had temples in Athens, Rome, Paris, and London. Archaeologists believe the worship of Isis may have lasted until the 6th century CE, but there are still those who worship her even today. As always, thank you so very much for watching. Please support me by liking and sharing the video, and by subscribing to the channel. Till next time, bye bye.